Good morning and welcome to the Morning Breath Livestream where we start our day with coherence. I am your host, Jeremy Tennell, systems designer and coherence coach, and this is week 7, day 35 of our 14-week journey, the path of personal transformation. And today, we're going to talk about the moment most people try and avoid conflict. The moment you avoid conflict is the moment misalignment starts to grow. You felt the tension, you knew something wasn't right, but instead of stepping into it, you stepped around it because conflict isn't what breaks co-creation. It's what makes it possible. I used to think conflict was the signal that something was going wrong, that if things were aligned, if people were doing the work. So when tension entered the space, I would try and manage it or avoid it, smooth it out, redirect it, keep things going. But what I didn't realize at the time was that every time I avoided conflict, I was actually avoiding the opportunity for clarity. Over time, the avoidance didn't remove the tension. It conflict is not the problem. Avoiding conflict is the problem. Because conflict is one of the only moments where truth enters the system. Not the kind of truth that is spoken out loud, the kind of truth that's felt between everybody involved. It's where expectations are challenged, assumptions are exposed, and alignment is tested. Without conflict, you don't have harmony, you have silence. And silence is not alignment, it's intentional ignorance. And what do most people do in that moment? We pause, we hesitate, we tell ourselves, it's not the right time. It's not a big deal. I don't need to talk about this. I'll bring it up later. But we already know what happens next. We carry it. It shows up in our tone, in our energy, in how we engage or disengage. And now, what could have been a moment of clarity becomes a pattern of misalignment, a choice to ignore. We've talked about this moment before. Conflict delayed is conflict magnified. And what starts as something small becomes something much harder to navigate. From a systems perspective, conflict is a feedback mechanism. It signals misalignment, unmet expectations, breakdowns in the agreement. When conflict is engaged, the system moves like this: tension, conversation, adjustment, and realignment. You begin to make progress. But when conflict is avoided, that tension turns into avoidance, which accumulates, and there's an emotional toll. We get dysregulation and disengagement and breakdown. And here's the key. Conflict doesn't appear. It transforms. It transforms into frustration and resentment and disengagement if it goes unengaged, unnoticed. And now the system isn't just misaligned, it's unstable. And this is deeply cultural. We've been conditioned to avoid discomfort, protect relationship at the surface level rather than deeply, and equate tension with social failure. So we choose politeness over honesty, comfort over clarity, and silence over truth. But in doing so, we don't protect the relationship. We weaken it because real trust, like we talked about yesterday, is built in honesty. Honesty often shows up first as conflict. So today, don't run from the tension. Get curious about it. What is this moment trying to show? What hasn't been said here? What needs to be clarified? Because conflict is not the end of co-creation. It's actually the entry point. And I'm going to give you one tip today for how to deal with conflict. Conflict isn't dealt with by leaping into the problem, by blurting out your tension. Conflict is dealt with. Why did you say that? What does that mean for you? Work to understand the other first rather than being understood first. Understand what is happening between you before you try and dump the emotional load that you're holding. Today, I want you to take your journals and I want you to deal with a couple of questions. What conflict have I been avoiding? What am I carrying that needs to be said? What conversations would bring clarity if I had the courage to step into it? And finally, what am I afraid will happen if I do? Let's move into our breath work this morning. Go ahead and shimmy your hips and roll your shoulders back. Get comfortable, feet on the ground. Let's start with 2 breaths. 1 in, exhale with a sigh. In, exhale with a sigh. Placing my hand over my heart, and let's breathe in through our nose for about 6 seconds. Out through our mouths. A toothless spiral out and get bigger. Staying with that practice is vital because it builds over time, just like a muscle in a gym. It builds. Stay with the practice. Do it every day, and you'll find that the way you engage with conflict, the way you engage with trust, the way you engage with people, anxiety, stress, all of it changes. Conflict is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is real. And when we lean in to meet it with awareness, with regulation, with honesty, it stops being something we fear and becomes something we use to build clarity, to strengthen trust, and to deepen alignment. This space is for practitioners, not just listeners. Thank you for being here. Remember, take a breath.